All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. I appreciate you guys tuning in today for the family medical leave training. It's a rainy Thursday morning, and this is a lot better than trying to get out and go to District 6 for the training and all sit in your offices and be nice and dry. So we'll try to get through this in about an hour or so this morning. But this family medical leave training is probably one of the second most important trainings that we will do for you guys, simply because of the number of lawsuits that continue to be filed. As a matter of fact, the number of lawsuits filed for family medical leave cases are up by over 400% in the last few years. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One is just how easy it is to file for a retaliation lawsuit, or the employer mishandled the process. But also, companies are not doing a good job of training their managers on how to handle family medical leave. And that's why we're here today. This information is critical. You can't just take this and put it in a drawer and think that you're never going to have to deal with it. And we'll talk about some reasons why for that. But one of those is, and this is what I've been promoting to you guys, this is one of two laws that allow for a supervisor to be included in legal action for interfering with or denying an employee their right to take protected family medical leave. The other law is the Fair Labor and Standards Act, and we'll have training on that later in the year. But it's very important for you, your supervisors, your foremen, anyone that manages employees in Madison County. They need this information. Now, we've got just about everyone that registered for the training has logged in, but we have some that have not. And if you've got some folks that were not able to attend today, that's fine. The reason we went with this type of training is so that they're archived. Everything that's said today and everything that's shown on the screen will be recorded. So your folks that were not able to make it today, please make sure that they go to our website and they watch the archive version of this. It'll be just like the live version, and they can see it and hear the same thing. But it is critical that they get this information, because the last thing we want is for one of you guys to be named in a lawsuit because we failed to handle it correctly. If you have questions during the training, there should be a questions box somewhere on the menu bar there that you have on your screen. Just send your question. Pam and Karen are here, and they can answer your questions in real time. So please don't think that you have a dumb question. There is no such thing as a dumb question. If you need more information or something you don't understand, please ask, and they will be happy to get you that information as we go along. Also, on your screen there's in the handout section, you should see something that says Madison County FMLA Departmental Reference Guide. What we've come up with, because we like to make it easy for folks to understand things, is we have come up with a reference guide, a cheat sheet, whatever you want to call it, that really outlines what family medical leave is and how to handle it. Okay, what your responsibilities are, what the employee's responsibilities are. I encourage you to open that up, save it to your computer, but also print it and keep it in your desk, give it to your supervisors and your foremen. They can keep it in their truck, wherever they need to, because this will help them should they go through some of the things that we're going to talk about today. Should they hear trigger statements or something, or an employee comes and says, hey, I need surgery, this will tell them exactly how to handle that, okay? So again, we'll try to make it easy for everyone. So we'll go ahead and get started with this and get through it. All right, so let's start with what is family medical leave. It was a law that was passed in 1993 by President Bill Clinton. It provides up to 12 weeks of job-protected unpaid leave. And yes, it is unpaid leave. Sometimes employees get that confused. But it is unpaid leave, but we'll talk about that more in just a minute. For a serious health condition, and it's available for an employee's spouse, their parents, their children, that could be the natural born, adopted, or for foster care, or for themselves. It's an important law that helps employees take time off when they have a serious medical condition and need to be away from work. That's the basics of what family medical leave is, but we'll expand on that just a little bit, but that's just so you'll have a little bit of information about what it is. All right, let's talk about the eligibility requirements just a second. How does an employee become eligible for family medical leave? Well, there are two initial eligibility requirements. The first one, they must be employed for at least 12 months, but that employment need not be consecutive, and we'll talk more about that in just a second. Secondly, they must have worked at least 1,250 hours during that 12 months. Okay, so they must have been employed for Madison County for at least 12 months and then have worked 1,250 hours during that 12 months. All right, so let's go back to the need not be consecutive just a second. And some of you probably don't know this, but an employee can have a break in service of up to 7 years and still qualify for family medical leave if they meet the other requirements. Okay, they can have a break in service for up to 7 years. So an example of that would be if you had an employee that worked for the county for 3 months, left and was gone for 6 years, came back and worked 9 months, they would qualify for family medical leave if they worked 1,250 hours during that 3-month span and the 9-month span. Now that doesn't seem like it would be possible, but that's the way the law is written. The law is written to give an employee every opportunity to qualify for family medical leave. So that's one of the things that personnel has to take into consideration when we're determining eligibility for an employee. Time spent on paid or unpaid leave does not count as hours worked. That does not count toward the 1,250. So the time that we spend on annual leave or sick leave, military leave, or previous family medical leave does not count toward the 1,250 hours. It's only the hours that we are on the clock. All right? Very important here. The personnel department is solely responsible and will handle determining eligibility for employees. Trust me, guys, you do not want to enter into these waters. Okay, it's very complicated. It can be very confusing to determine eligibility. It's not something you guys want to take on. We have established a clearinghouse here in our office to make sure that we get this process right 100% of the time so that we're not liable for denying an employee their right for family medical leave. Karen Mahan here in the office is now responsible for the family medical leave process for the county, and so she will be the one that is working with you guys and your employees when they go out on family medical leave. But just leave the process up to us to determine eligibility. All right, reasons for leave. Why can an employee take off for family medical leave? And we talked about this just a little bit on the first screen. So the only thing I'll point out on here is what is in red on your screen there. Care for parents-in-law is not covered by family medical leave. So if we have to take off to take care of our mother-in-law or our father-in-law, that is not covered under family medical leave. Let me give you an example of that. As we speak, my father-in-law is having back surgery at Vanderbilt in Nashville today. And so my wife has taken off to go be with him, obviously. Now, she could take family medical leave where she works if she wanted to, but if I had to take off and go take care of my father-in-law because of his back surgery, that would not qualify for family medical leave. I would have to use sick leave for that. So just keep that in mind. Employees say, hey, my father-in-law's having surgery, I got to take off. That doesn't qualify for family medical leave. They will have to use sick leave for that, okay? All right, I like to give you guys something new and change the presentation each time that we train on the same topic, and this is the second time that we've done family medical leave, so I like to add something to it so we're not talking about the same things every year. And I've added the next 3 slides are new, and it's things that we need to know about because of the prevalence of what's going on not only in our country right now with drugs and alcohol, but also what's going on in Madison County. So let me hit on a few topics that you probably wouldn't expect today. And the first one is the treatment for substance abuse. Unfortunately, we continue to see a significant increase in the number of people that are becoming dependent on both alcohol and drugs. And guys, unfortunately, we continue to see an increase in the number of employees in Madison County that are using drugs and alcohol. I read something the other day that marijuana is the new Marlboro cigarette. And that's exactly what the article said. And I think that's true because of, you know, what's going on in the country and it being legal in different states. And I'm not getting into all that, trust me. But it's something that we're having to deal with more and more. So it would behoove us to understand, okay, with drugs and alcohol, how does family medical leave play into that? Well, substance abuse is certainly considered a serious health condition. And if an employee enters a treatment facility because of their addiction or their dependency, then that would certainly be covered under family medical leave. Okay? But something you probably didn't know is that as a part of that treatment program, if they're referred to AA meetings, then time off to attend those AA meetings would qualify for family medical leave as well. Okay? So we just need to keep that in mind. The employee would need to provide you in advance a schedule of when they might be attending a family medical leave, an AA meeting. Okay? Sometimes those happen at night, sometimes they happen during the day, I don't know, but time off for that, if that's part of their treatment program, would be covered under family medical leave. Okay? All right, let's talk about work comp just a minute, something you may not have thought of. Now, if an employee is seriously injured on the job and has to be out of work to recover from a workplace injury, obviously the employee is placed on work comp. That much we know. But what you probably didn't know is that family medical leave can run concurrently with workers' compensation if the employee meets the eligibility requirements. So we could have an employee that's injured seriously on the job, is out of work, recovering, and going to be out for a while. Not only are they covered under work comp, but they're also covered under family medical leave because it's a serious health condition, and they meet the qualifications for a serious health condition, but they would still, of course, need to meet the qualifications of working for 12 months and 1,250 hours. But it's just an extra layer of protection for our employees while they're out of work due to an injury. I know we've had this happen once recently where we had an employee that's recovering from surgery due to an injury here at the county, and they were on FMLA and work comp at the same time. As I said earlier, Karen administers our family medical leave program. She does a great job with that. Well, she also handles our work comp for the county, and there's a reason for that. I've always liked to have one person in charge of our protected leave programs. Okay, it just makes sense to have one person in charge of both for consistency purposes. And so if you have situations with work comp or employee being out, then she'll be the one that'll be contacting you guys and working with you on it. All right, let's talk about family medical leave as it applies to same-sex marriage. As you guys know, last year there was a great deal of debate and changes made in laws regarding same-sex marriages, and some of those legal changes did impact the Family Medical Leave Act, so it's something that we have to address, okay? As of February of last year, the Department of Labor mandated that family medical leave rights be extended to employees in legally recognized same-sex marriages. Now, this was a landmark decision by the Department of Labor when they made the change last year. It impacted a lot of folks across the country because employees who are eligible for family medical leave may now take protected leave to care for their same-sex spouse because the law now recognizes any marriage that is lawfully recognized. Okay? So that's a lot of words to say that couples who are same-sex and they're married, they now qualify for family medical leave if they meet the other requirements. Okay? All right. Notification requirements. Now, this is where it begins to get a little bit tricky, and this is where companies begin to get in trouble. So if you're still awake, I need you to pay good attention to the next two slides and take good notes here, okay? Because this is where we begin to get in trouble. An employee can request family medical leave. They can come to you and say, I need to be off, I need family medical leave, I'm having surgery. Or they can come to personnel and say, I need family medical leave. Or the county can initiate the process to qualify an employee's absence as family medical leave. Now, a few years ago, there was a shift in the burden, okay? The Department of Labor shifted the burden from the employee having to request family medical leave, they shift that burden to the employer to qualify employees for family medical leave. Because what they found was, and in surveys and talking to employees around the country, with a lot of employees that still have no idea what family medical leave is or how it works, so they weren't taking advantage of the benefit. So the Department of Labor shifted that burden to the employer, and this is where it gets tricky, and this is where I need you to really pay attention. Okay, an employee does not have to specifically state that they need family medical leave. They do not have to come to you or to me or to Karen or anyone else and say, hey, I need family medical leave. All that is required is for the employee to state that they need leave for a medical reason. And then it's up to us to start the family medical leave process to determine eligibility. Okay? So how does that work? So let's expand on that a little bit and talk about trigger statements and being placed on notice. Okay, two legal terms in the family medical leave law: trigger statements and being placed on notice. And this is where the burden comes in, and this is where we start getting in trouble, and you guys start getting sued. As I said, an employee does not have to specifically say to supervisors that they need family medical leave. Trigger statements are what you will hear when an employee is talking about needing to be off work for medical reasons. These type of statements should trigger you to take action and realize that the employee may need family medical leave. When an employee makes a statement that they need to be off for medical reasons, then you need to contact personnel, okay, and encourage that employee to contact personnel. Now on the screen there, I've given you some examples of trigger statements. So if a female employee comes up to you and says, hey, I'm having a baby, that's a trigger statement. You've been placed on notice. The same as an employee is they're going to have open heart surgery, or their wife's going to have knee surgery, or their father's going to have back surgery, and they're going to have to be out for a while. They don't have to specifically say, hey, supervisor, I need family medical leave for 12 weeks or 3 weeks. All they have to do is to say, something's going on medically that I've got to be off work to take care of. And then that burden is now on us to try to qualify that person for family medical leave. That was a major shift and in the family medical leave law that puts us on notice when an employee comes to us and gives us a reason that they need to be off work for a medical reason. Guys, all I'm asking you to do is listen to your employees. I know some of them may be harder to listen to than others, but all I'm asking you to do is just listen, okay? If they come to you and they say that they got to be off for a medical reason, okay, examples of what's on the screen, but there are a lot more, then you need to get them in touch with personnel, let them know that they might qualify for family medical leave, and then personnel will take it from there and then stay in touch with you as to the process. Okay, please don't discourage employees from taking family medical leave and say, you don't need that, or don't worry about it. That doesn't work anymore. Okay, you've got to make sure that you go through the process of letting them know that might be family medical leave. You need to contact personnel, and we will bear the burden then of trying to get them qualified. Okay, so very, very, very important that to understand that once you hear that trigger statement, you're being placed on notice, and the ball's in your court. Now, the employee may not come to you and say, hey, I got to have back surgery. They may just be talking to other coworkers or to a supervisor, and somehow it gets back to you. They don't have to come directly to you. Once you're told no matter who tells you, okay? Now, once you get that, you need to go to that employee and say, hey, I've heard that you're going to have back surgery. Is that true? If they say yes, then, okay, that might qualify for family medical leave. You need to go see personnel. That's all I'm asking you to do, guys. That's it, okay? I don't ask much out of you. All right, let's talk about finances. It always comes back to the money. One of the big misconceptions employees have is that they think family medical leave is paid time off. Family medical leave is unpaid time. It is protected leave. It protects their job, but it does not pay them, okay? However, we require employees to use their accrued time while on family medical leave. Now, why do we do that? because it keeps employees in an active and paid status, which is important for benefit reasons. Okay, let's work through this. The county is required to maintain an employee's health insurance benefits while they're on family medical leave. However, the employee is responsible for paying their portion of the premiums, which is why we require them to use their accrued leave and remain in a paid status. Okay, every other week we get a paycheck, and whatever benefit plans that we have, that is deducted from our paycheck. We don't have to worry about it. If we have to go out with knee surgery and we're on family medical leave, we've got plenty of accrued time. It's just like we're at work. As we continue to get that check, our benefits continue to be deducted and our benefits continue to be active. But now what happens if we have an employee, and this happens more often than you would think, they have to go on family medical leave and they don't have enough accrued time to get them through, or they don't have any accrued time. They might have enough for 3 weeks, but they need 8 weeks. So what happens? If you're not working and you don't have accrued time, we don't get a paycheck, correct? So how do you pay for your benefits? Because now while the county steps up and does a great job of bearing the burden and paying the largest percentage of all of our benefits, us employees still have to pay a portion for each of our benefits. So how do we do that if we're not getting a paycheck? Well, we have to pay personnel. What Karen does is when an employee comes to register for family medical leave, she gives them the form that she came up with that tells them exactly how much leave they have and all their benefits and what it will cost them each month if they go into an unpaid status. Because we want them to know before they go out, if they run out of time, what it's going to cost them. And trust me, it's an eye-opening experience for an employee to sit in our office and realize, I don't have enough time, and that's what it's going to cost me to maintain my benefits. So this leads me to this, and I'm kind of getting on my stump here, but since I got you here, I will. Every chance you get, you need to beat your employees over the head and tell them to bank their sick leave. This is why we have sick leave. It's not a question of if it will happen, it's when it's going to happen. At some point, all of us are going to have to be off work for some medical reason. And this is why we have sick leave. That's why the county steps up and gives us so much sick leave. Okay? We need to be banking that sick leave. So please preach that to your employees, because it's a sad thing when an employee has to be off work and they don't have any time. It's a sad thing, but whose fault is it? We have a lot of employees that what I call earn and burn. They earn 4 hours and they burn 4 hours. And I don't know how to undo that. I really don't. I struggle with it. I want to, but I don't know how. But I'm going to step on your toes a little bit here, but it behooves me why you guys are letting it go on. And just because an employee earns 4 hours doesn't mean they have the right to burn 4 hours. They have an obligation to show up for work every day that they're scheduled. Okay? Now, yes, we all get sick, and yes, we all have to be away from work from time to time, but not so to the point where we don't have any accrued leave. That's excessive absenteeism, and you need to be writing those guys up for that and then moving them on, because there are a lot of folks that would love to have that job. Okay, and I know that's a whole other speech, and I will move on. But just know that family medical leave is unpaid, and that we need to be helping our folks realize that they need to be banking their sick leave. All right, so what are your responsibilities as a supervisor? Well, we've already talked about listening for trigger statements, promptly review and sign the family medical leave request form. That's the first form that Karen gives them. They will take that and they'll sign it, and they'll bring it to you. If you will just promptly sign that and get it back to us, because we have to have that back before we can move on with the process. Please keep all information confidential. If you're aware of your employee needing to be out on family medical leave, that's the only people that need to know in your office. Now, if the employee chooses to tell everybody and their brother about it, that's up to them. But there's no reason for anyone else to be talking about it. Personnel will be aware of it, but we don't need to be talking to other employees or the departments about why they're out. Do not encourage employees to return to work before they're released. I don't think anyone would do that, but we need to let employees stay out as long as their physician says they need to be out. Do not, for any reason, and it's kind of hard to believe I got to say this, but this happened last year. Do not, for any reason, contact the employee's physician. There's no need for that. Okay, that is what I call a grenade decision because it's going to go off. Okay, there is no need for a supervisor to contact an employee's physician. That did happen last year, and we had to backtrack and take care of that. But we will get all the information that we need on the certification form, and if we need more information, we can request that through the employee to get it from their doctor. Now, one other thing on here, and we talked about this last year. Some of you have done a good job of it, some have not. If you've got an employee that has missed 7 or more consecutive days for a medical reason, you need to contact personnel. If you've got an employee that's been out of work on medical reasons, even if it's calling in sick for 7 or more consecutive days, you need to call us because we need to find out what's going on. It's not a, hey, why aren't you at work kind of a thing. It's, hey, what's going on? Is there something we need to do? Is this a medical reason that might qualify for family medical leave? We have an obligation to find out what's going on. But also, guys, we have a right to know what's going on. That's our employee. We have a right to know where our employee is, why they're not at work, and when they're going to come back to work. So if you've got some habitual call-ins going on, we need to find out what's going on. It could be a medical condition that they haven't disclosed, and it's gotten worse, and they're trying to deal with it. And it may be we can help them out with that. Or guys, it could be that it's just really nice fishing weather here in the spring, and because that does happen. So we need to be finding out what's going on. So if you've got an employee that has called in or has been out of work on medical reasons for 7 more consecutive days, you need to contact personnel, and we will help you find out what's going on with that. Okay? And I'm glad to see people are asking questions. That's good. Keep them coming. We want to help you. All right, legal problems. Some of this we've already talked about, but again, as a reminder, you guys can be held personally liable for not properly administering or denying or interfering with an employee's rights to family medical leave. That's why it's critical that we conduct these trainings. Our job is to make sure you have the tools to do your job. Okay? I know there are other things you'd rather be doing on a rainy Thursday morning. I got that, okay? But it's imperative that you guys have this information so that you don't get caught in not knowing how to handle it, okay? Retaliation is the most popular type of lawsuit filed by employees. Employees typically file a retaliation lawsuit on family medical leave because they feel as though they've been wronged because they took family medical leave, okay? And I'll tell you, be very careful when making employment-related decisions that involve employees that are about to go on family medical leave, are on leave, or are just coming off leave. And what I mean by employment decisions, I'm talking about promotions, pay raises, any demotions, things like that. Be very careful with that, and we will be happy to work with you on that. But again, those are grenade-type decisions that is very easy for an employee that's, you know, coming off or going on family medical leave to claim retaliation for. Retaliation lawsuits are very easy to claim for an employee, very difficult to defend as an employer, okay? As I've told you before in trainings, call before you act, okay? If there's any doubt, call before you act, and we'll be happy to help you with that. You cannot use the fact that an employee took family medical leave as a reason not to promote an employee, not to give them a merit increase, or anything like that. So just please be careful with employment type decisions when they're related to an employee around family medical leave. A couple of tips for avoiding legal issues. Some of this we've already talked about. Do not discourage an employer from taking family medical leave. And here's one for you. Never make reference to an employee taking family medical leave on a performance review form, okay, or on a disciplinary form, or any type of form, okay, because that could later come back and be viewed as retaliation, or could be construed negatively by the employee. And like I said, do not base a promotion or merit increase on the fact that an employee took family medical leave. Okay. One of the things that came up last year that I've written down here, late last fall, we had a question come up about longevity bonuses, and a supervisor had a question as to whether or not they had to actually give a longevity bonus to an employee who was out on family medical leave. Yes, you do. You cannot hinder someone's pay that they're due like a bonus because they're on family medical leave. Okay, so just keep that in mind. That's another grenade type decision. All right, so what about extended family medical leave? And I promise we're almost through this. All right. As we've talked about, employees have the right to 12 weeks of protected family medical leave. But what happens if the employee can't come back to work? They're not released by their physician after the 12 weeks. What happens? Well, back in the day, back in the late 90s and early 2000s, you could terminate an employee for 12 weeks in one day if you wanted to. But those days are long gone. Okay, we have to enter into what's known as an interactive process as outlined by the Americans with Disability Act, and try to see when they're going to come back, how much more leave that they need. But we will get all that information from their physician. Okay, we will get all that information from their physician before they're eligible before they come back. So just know that we can't terminate an employee or demote an employee because they're not able to come back. We have extended family medical leave for employees here at the county before, when we've gotten the proper documentation from their physician. However, I want you to know this. It's not indefinite. An employee can't stay on family medical leave indefinitely, okay? There does come a point through that interactive process, and again, this is all legal stuff, to where it becomes an undue hardship, and that's another legal term, on the employer for that employee to continue to stay out. So, but that's all stuff that we will work through, and we'll get Jeff involved in that. But hopefully that we won't have to deal with that, but there is a process in place for that. All right, last thing. Employee's been out on leave, and now they're coming back. So how do we handle that? It's real simple. Before an employee is released, before an employee can return to work, they need to provide us with a medical release form signed by their physician stating that they can come back to work. But again, keep in mind, they might bring you paperwork for the medical release that says, yes, they can come back to work, but on a modified work schedule, or they can come back on light duty. Okay, so we'll have to work through that, and we'll have to determine if you have a light duty position available, and you may not. But again, we will work through all those things. Okay, but it is the employee's responsibility to communicate with us on that. All right, last thing, let's just summarize it. If you have an employee that has missed work for 7 or more consecutive days because of a medical reason, who are you going to call? Personnel. You've got to call personnel. Let us help with that situation. Listen to your employees, listen for trigger statements, and take action. Let the employee know that they may qualify for family medical leave. Contact us. We are responsible for determining employees' eligibility. You guys, trust me, you don't want to get involved in that. Keep everything confidential. Understand that this is one of 2 laws where a supervisor can be held personally liable and can be sued for how they handle family medical leave. But guys, and I don't want to scare anybody, I don't. It's not doom and gloom, but you just need the information. You just need to know. But if you guys will take what we've given you today. Now, you're not going to be an expert in family medical leave when this is over, okay? That's not the intent. The intent is for you to have the framework of family medical leave and how you need to handle it for your department, okay? That's the intent of this, is to tell you what you can and can't do and what you can and can't say, and to make recommendations to keep you and us out of trouble. That's all this is, okay? So if you will follow this stuff, if you will print out the reference guides that I've got attached on the menu bar there, if you'll print that out, read over it, give it to your supervisors, your foremans, your lieutenant sergeants, whoever it is, if you will do that and you guys will follow this, then you should be okay. All right. But like I said, if you have questions or problems, again, let us know. If you have someone that was not able to attend this and you want them to have this information, the archived version, the recorded version, will be on our website hopefully later today or tomorrow. They can go and click on it and sit and watch and listen just like you have today, and they will have that information. Again, that's why we went with this format, because we were missing too many people. Okay? All right, we're going to stay on the line a little bit longer here. If you want to keep asking questions, and I know we've had quite a few ask, and that's great. If there's something more personal you want to ask and you don't want to key it in, just give us a call. All right. Well, thank you guys for attending today, and I'm going to have a family medical leave training for all employees. Okay, that's more for our frontline employees coming up in April. That will be our first all-employee family medical leave training. It will be significantly different than this training, because this is to train you guys on how to handle it in your departments. This is more of a notification to the employees of their rights as family medical leave, and we have an obligation under the law to notify employees. So if you guys don't want to sit down on that, you don't have to, but this will be more for your frontline employees, but please make sure that they do attend, okay? But I'll push out that information soon. So guys, thanks again for your attendance and for your interactions and for your questions. If you have anything that you need to ask, please let us know. All right, thank you.